What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Popcast. I am DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shady.
And in today's podcast, we actually have an interesting topic to discuss about, and that topic is sets that deserve more pops. It's something that I think a lot of us think about when we look at either our collection or just, different sets overall and realizing, wow, this set only has this many pops. I think it should have more. And if you guys actually enjoy how this podcast will end up turning out to be, we're more than willing to do basically the opposite as a topic eventually of Funko Pop sets that have way too much and shouldn't have as many as they do. Yeah, so basically both MD and myself are going to be talking about different sets of Funko Pops that we think deserve more than what they have. And then at the end of the podcast, we actually have some, suggestions sent in from you guys over on Instagram and the YouTube community tab on sets you think deserve more pops for that set. And we're going to agree or disagree on your suggestions. I guess without further ado, I might as well start off first, and we're going to go back and forth instead of me going and taking all of my suggestions and then MD doing it that way in case, we repeat some stuff. So I guess the first one I'm going to mention is literally what started off this podcast, what made me thought of this topic to do. And that is for the TV series Saved by the Bell. I think that this is a set that definitely deserves more Funko Pops than it already has. We only have the 6 pops with obviously Zach Morris, Kelly Kapowski, AC Slater, Jesse Spano, Screech, and Lisa Turtle. And I think there's room for more pops, even if there are different versions of each of those characters. I mean, I think if you're going to make a pop, though, of a brand new character, I think first off the top of my head has to be Mr. Belding. I wrote down a pop. I guess now as I'm thinking about it, it wouldn't be more of a town. It'd be more of a deluxe because you don't really see the outside of the place that much. Max with the cafe. I think that would be really sweet to do. And yeah, you don't really see the outside, so it can't really be a town. It's more of a deluxe realistically. I added a new character like Tori Scott. I think that she was pretty much in the series after, I believe it was Elizabeth Berkley, who is Jesse Spano, had left and done the different movies that she did, which we won't go into discussion about one of them. But some of the pops of already existing characters, but different versions, I think the first one that comes off the top of my head would be a AC Slater ballerina outfit pop. If you know, you know. That scene was hilarious. And then if you're going to do more different versions, I think doing a multi-pack of them with their band Zack Attack would be pretty sweet since they're all in different attires. And I believe all of them play different instruments. Like I think Zach's playing guitar and Kelly's singing. Lisa's playing bass, I believe. And then Screech is on the keyboards and AC Slater's on the drums. I believe that's how the setup was. I don't know what you have to say about that, but I know you definitely agree with me since it was like the first set you ever bought in Pops.
Yeah, it was the first set. And I do agree that it does need more pops. I didn't actually put it on my list because I had a feeling that you might have put it on yours, and I'm glad that you did. Yeah, I mean, definitely. We only have the 6 pops. I think that that's a great set. But yeah, like, why is there no Mr. Belding? I think that that is definitely an easy, exclusive that they could have made. And, not only with just Saved by the Bell, but also Saved by the Bell college years. There's, the movie as well. There's a lot of different things that you could pull pops from, and I think that they would sell because, I mean, I would buy them. You would buy them. I feel like a lot of other people would as well. I mean, Saved by the Bell pops is what got me into Funko, so there's definitely a lot that could be done. I think that the ballerina outfit AC Slater is definitely something that we need. There's just so many different moments pops. I mean, you can have the stairwell in the school, you can have lockers. There's a lot of different things they could do with Saved by the Bell, and hopefully one day they do that. So the first set that I have is for the comedians lineup. I feel like it's not really being utilized the way it can be. We have seen, I think there's 3 different comedians, obviously the 2 bigger ones being Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias, as well as Jeff Dunham. Yeah, there's a ton of Gabriel Iglesias pops now. It seems like we just keep getting them and they're not really getting any better. I mean, they are kind of changing a little bit, but I feel like the first couple that we've seen were really good and now we're just getting a lot of doubles. So why isn't there other comedians? I mean, there's so many comedians that they could do. Chris Daly, obviously, there's a little bit of mixed opinions about him, but that's definitely a cool pop that we could see. I mean, there's so many comedians that we could get, whether it's like musical comedians or just pure stand-up guys, like let's say with like Bo Burnham. There's just a ton of different comedians, but for some reason we just seem to be getting more Gabriel Iglesias, which I don't think people are very happy about.
Yeah, I definitely agree that, speaking of the topic, I literally just kicked it off. If we were to do a podcast of pops that have too much in the set, it's literally Gabriel Iglesias himself. And especially as we were recording, I don't know if you've seen the photos, but there's been some photos surfacing of like two brand new Gabriel Iglesias pops, one being like a gold diamond collection pop where it's just completely one color and there's a bunch of glitter on it. And then there's like a mariachi Gabriel Iglesias with like a green attire. I can't believe I just thought of this. And I thought I would like forget this. Bert Kreischer. Why does he not have a Funko Pop? Like, I am the machine.
One of the best. Yeah.
Like, that would be amazing. And especially, yeah, lights and sounds, Bert Kreischer, I am the machine, sell like hotcakes. Do it, Funko. Bert Kreischer. Even, yeah, I was getting into like the actor celebrities like Chris Rock, who do their own stand-up, and like Kevin Hart and stuff like that. And then Adam Sandler, he does his own like comedy stuff around the world. So I mean, there's a lot of room for improvement instead of just making what they've done so far. Gabriel Iglesias with like 10 of them, 2 Jeff Dunhams, and then a Joe Coy. I think that's all we've had thus far. Yeah. I would even rather seeing more Jeff Dunham if it was just the puppets itself and not Jeff Dunham holding a different puppet and just switching the molding of that. So
yeah, for sure.
Going on to my second set that I have listed here, Jingle All The Way. I mean, Jingle All The Way had a decent amount of pops already. You had a lot of Turbo Men, whether it's just regular Turbo Man, and then Howard as Turbo Man, and then there's even the Turbo Man Flying, that's an Amazon exclusive, and then there was a 10-inch pop that got canceled from what I last heard, and there's been no update thus far about whether it's continuing, which I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen because I certainly barely have room. There's even another set of pops that I collect that I need another 10-inch for, so please no more 10-inch for some of the sets that I collect. And then yeah, we got the Myron as Dementor, regular Myron, regular Howard. So it's realistically all between Howard and Myron if you think about it, even though there is regular Turbo Man. I think realistically, even that one Turbo Man that's just Turbo Man and he's just standing with the arms to the side could have been taken out and we would have kept just the Amazon exclusive. But for this set, once again, number one, and we always mention this, Booster. I don't understand how Booster was not made. And especially with the way that Funko is kind of going with like overproducing pops, this makes the most sense to be overproduced because in the movie of how Booster is on shelves everywhere. So I just don't see why Funko just doesn't take advantage of that situation and how it'd actually be funny to see this pop on the shelves because it makes sense for that character. Getting a pop of Ted would be sweet, even if he's wearing like the apron because he's going to make the cookies. Jamie, I think, would be cool, especially if he's holding like the limited edition, like chrome Turbo Man that he gets near the end of the movie with the parade. Like a pop rides of like the police officer with his motorcycle. And you could even do moments of like the motorcycle tipped over and he's so mad about it. And then I wrote Bad Santa, as in Big Show, former WWE superstar, Bad Santa.
There's an abundance of stuff that you can do from that movie. What a great Christmas movie. One that I could think is like a moments with like the ball pit. I think that would be really funny. Obviously, you could do like a 3-pack of the different Santas. There's just such a ton of stuff. I would love to see Ted with the apron. That's so funny. Even if they did like a lights and sounds Turbo Man, I would probably buy that. That would be pretty sweet. Jamie is definitely one that I really want to see, but I think overall Booster is definitely a pop that we need to see, even if it was just a booster that we got. All right, so moving on to my second set, I have the Muppets. The Muppets is a great set of pops. Me and DK definitely tried to hunt these on our very, very early days of Funko Pop hunting, and we never really succeeded because we were kind of a little late for getting some of those grails. But yeah, the Muppets is just such a small set. There are actually quite a few pops in it, considering you have some different variations with like the metallic Kermit. We also have like the superhero Kermit, and then there's the metallic Miss Piggy and all those different things. But overall, I mean, you got Kermit, Miss Piggy, Fozzie, Swedish Chef, Gonzo, Sam the Eagle, Snoth, Mahamaha. There's not much else besides that in the set, and there's so many different Muppets that I feel like there's just a crazy amount of Muppets in the Muppet Show. So why was this kind of cut short and we didn't see a ton of it. Like there's so many different things, obviously. Dr. Teeth is actually a pop that there is as well, I believe. But like Janice to go along with Electric Mayhem, Animal, I can't believe I forgot Animal is also a pop. But who else? Like Ralph the dog, Scooter. There's just so many different Muppets, and there's so many different moments in the Muppets that you can do. You can have Kermit the Frog or another Muppet with a 2-pack with one of the special guests that was in the show. There's the movies, obviously, of the Muppets where you can have, I forget what his name is from the Muppets movie with like Jason Segel in it, but that Muppet figure, there's definitely a ton of different Muppets, and I just don't see why it got cut so short. Considering I love the Muppets so much, I could just go on and name so many of the different Muppets that I think, because I think any Muppet should be in Funko Pop form.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some more Kermits, to be honest, especially because both of the technically there's 3 Kermits in a way, because there's regular Kermit but done twice, because you either got it with the regular Muppets box or you got it with the Muppets Most Wanted box.
Yeah.
So I believe obviously the regular one is worth more because that one's more rare, while you see the Muppets Most Wanted one more often. And then the superhero Kermit, Emerald City Comic Con, which I believe was one of the first pops, little known fact, that made me find out that the Funko shop only ships to the States, because I really wanted to get that on the website. I think I had it in my cart, did my address, and then seen US only. And I'm like, wow, this is bullcrap. And that pop has risen up in price a lot, and it does look pretty cool. Example, the first thing I think of is doing a moments of Kermit the Frog on a piece of wood and he's playing his banjo. Like, I think that would be a wicked
Yeah, I mean,
moment.
the Rainbow Connection, there's so many different iconic songs. And then another thing that I think I should mention is that, like I talked about with the metallic versions of a couple of the characters, why is there no flocked Muppets pops? I mean, that's just such a wasted opportunity there, considering literally every Muppet is made out of felt, and the flocking is almost exactly the same as a Muppet when you look at the pop. So I really want to see some flocked Muppets pops.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe Funko, like we keep thinking, will listen to our podcast, steal our ideas, not give us a royalty check, and make them. All right, so the next set that I have listed down, Toy Story 3. Now, there's already a lot of Toy Story pops. This could be a set that technically for an eventual podcast of pops that have too much, realistically. But Toy Story 1 has a decent amount. Toy Story 2 has a handful of them, but still pretty decent. Toy Story 3 actually only has 4 pops if you think about it, where there is only the 2 different Lotzos, both the regular and the flocked D23 exclusive. That's like $2,000 Canadian. And then you have Mr. Prickle Pants and Chuckles from San Diego Comic-Con 2019. And those are the only ones that were made. And of course, we've seen how Toy Story 4 was with the abundance of pops they did and how some of them didn't really sell all that well. But of course, with Toy Story 3, I mean, Buttercup and Trixie, because it goes along with the Mr. Prickle Pants. That's kind of like the trio. I don't know why they didn't just do a 3-pack. Obviously, love to see a new Lotso pop, because we've seen in the last few years a pop Pez of Lotso that's limited to 1,500 pieces, which I do own. And they did the Funko Soda figure, which has the flock chase that I have yet to obtain. And who knows, maybe I'll fork up the money to get a full case just so I'm guaranteed that freaking chase. But I would like it so that we get scented and flocked in one. Smells like strawberries and feels like a teddy bear. Like, that's, I feel like they're already doing that with a lot of pops, like the one, I believe, Cheshire Cat, where it's 2 specifications. So I know Funko can do it. It's just a matter of, are they willing to do it? And then there's some other weird obscure ones like Chunk and Stretch, which Chunk is like that rock-like character, and if you bop on the head, it's a different facial expression. So I guess that's a good idea for a common and chase pop. And then Stretch is the octopus that's voiced by Whoopi Goldberg. So like, that'd be sweet. And then I wrote Dolly, because I mean, that's pretty much a main character in the set of Bonnie's toys.
So hear me out. Build a scene, conveyor belt.
Oh my God, you're savage.
Like, that would be amazing. First of all, that would be awesome. I mean, how many pieces? I guess, like, I think like 6 would be a good number to throw in there for Toy Story 3. I mean, Toy Story 3 is a beautiful, beautiful movie. Yeah, it definitely needs some more pops. I mean, there's just not enough. Obviously, there's quite a bit of Toy Story pops, but Toy Story 3 itself just doesn't have enough. I really wish we would have got a big wave like we got with, let's say, Toy Story 4, which got a ton. What else can I think of that you haven't said for Toy Story 3? I mean, there's a ton. I mean, obviously, like Big Baby, I think would be an awesome one, I think is the name of the character.
Yeah.
That would be sweet. There's just so much I think that they could do, but a conveyor belt build a scene for Toy Story 3 would be insane. And obviously you could do different things like moments inside of the daycare, maybe even some different versions of some of the toys when they're kind of getting like markered up and maybe like some glue on them and getting chewed on and stuff like that. I think that there's a lot of different room for variance and stuff with Toy Story 3.
One I did leave out before you mentioned your next set. I didn't mention characters like Ken because it's already an existing toy that can be made into the Retro Toys lineup. So I wanted to leave that out. If they were to do it for Toy Story 3, they probably would have to do it exactly like, I think how we mentioned how they would have to do Mr. Potato Head for the Toy Story lineup is what they did with the John Cena pop when he's wearing the Yankees jerseys, have like an official sticker to go along with that. So it'd be like an official Hasbro or Mattel licensing sticker to add with that pop, whether it's a common or an exclusive.
The next set that I have is a very underappreciated set that actually only has 4 pops and technically only 3 characters because there is a repeating character with those 4 pops, and that's for Family Guy. We have Peter, Brian, and 2 different versions of Stewie, and that is a shame. The Family Guy universe has so many characters, and I'm going to go on a little tangent here and name off as many as I can think of off the top of my head. So you got Lois, Meg, Chris, Cleveland, Quagmire, Joe, Herbert the Pervert. There's tons of characters for Family Guy, and so many different variants of Peter could be done because he has quite a few different costumes that he wears throughout the series. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense that we only have 4 pops. I don't know what the reason is for that. They are older pops, so maybe Funko is like, we're just going to do this. We're not a huge company at this point, so maybe it's kind of just a safer route to do that. But why haven't they tried to pick the license back up and do a ton more pops that I know would sell like crazy?
Yeah, and I feel like if anytime they're going to do it within the next year, because I believe the series came out in 99, right? That was the first season. And we're approaching that anniversary. So it's like 25 years, if my math's correct, 25 years of Family Guy. So there's a chance we could be getting a new wave of Family Guy at some point. And yeah, big example of like different moments. Just look at U2's figures because U2's have been making a ton of Family Guy. That's an example, a great example of pops that deserve more because there's only 4. And that seems like something that should have a ton, like they did at one point with The Simpsons when they only had 4 pops. Then they got the license back in 2019. And now I don't even know the exact number of Simpsons pops. They've made a lot of Simpsons pops.
And like, not to mention, like you said, with The Simpsons, how there was the original 4, and then now we have tons. Look at how well the molding of the Simpsons look compared to those original 4, which are kind of ugly at this point now. Great pieces. Can't wait to own those one day. But it's the same thing with the Family Guy ones. I mean, more specifically, the Peter is not the greatest looking Funko Pop. So I could imagine that now with the tools that they have and how much better they are at sculpting Funko Pops, that they would look way better, even if we did just get more versions of, let's say, the 3 characters that we already have.
All right, going on to the 4th set that I wrote down, I thought I would go a little anime and say Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, when you think about different animes and their Funko Pops, once again, this is going to be like if we have an eventual podcast of pops that just have way too much. Dragon Ball Z, way too much. Even Dragon Ball Super, way too much. And then even starting up now, My Hero Academia is getting up there. Demon Slayer, even though that just started like last year, the year before, it's starting to get up there too with a lot of pops, Boruto, Naruto. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't get me wrong, it has a decent amount of pops and it has a lot more pops than even we discussed about on our fandom related podcast on Yu-Gi-Oh! At that time in 2020. It's basically doubled, maybe even tripled since then. But there still is a lot of human characters and dual monsters that they should do. And they did do a lot of the ones that we actually requested on that fandom related podcast. You had mentioned Summon Skull. They did that for CCXP at the end of last year. They had done Blackluster Soldier for TargetCon last year. And then they did Winged Dragon of Ra, like I mentioned, and then they did Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, which is something we kind of figured was going to happen, but we didn't know when it was going to happen. And then they've made some weird, obscure ones like the Stardust Dragon, which I still don't have, and I'm going to have to get since I'm almost complete that set. And then they haven't really, like, this is what I think makes it such an underrated set, is that they haven't really done too much of the like repurposed pops all that much. Like the closest thing would obviously be doing the silver metallic pops for Blue Eyes, White Dragon, and Two Dragon. And then if anything, they did technically 3 Yugi pops with Yami Yugi, Yugimoto, and then Pharaoh Atem, the deluxe pop. But they haven't really overdone a lot of one character for this set. So I might as well mention some of them I mentioned on the Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. So first off, this is probably now at the top of my wish list for Yu-Gi-Oh pops I want to see, and that's a Time Wizard. Like, where is a Time Wizard Funko Pop? I think they would do such a great job with it. I think it's meant to be in the Funko Pop style. And then that second one would be a flocked Karibo. If they don't make it flocked, that would be a huge missed opportunity. And I think it would look excellent in the pop form. In terms to human characters, I mean, Taya and Tristan, even if they were a 2-pack or they were separately, I'm still hoping for that Arcana and Evil Dark Magician 2-pack, because that'd be sweet. And they could just literally repaint Dark Magician, and then a Grandpa Moto and the Game Store pop down. Like, that's also on my list there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, me and DK both want a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh pops, especially some of the OGs, rather than getting some weird stuff like you said with like Stardust Dragon and stuff like that. And a few like that I really want to see is Karibo is like my number one now. It was Summon Skull, but we finally got that, which is awesome. But Karibo definitely, Gate Guardian, Celtic Guardian, Pot of Greed. There's so many of these crazy characters or dual monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh, and I just don't know how we haven't gotten them yet, because obviously we are slowly getting some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, but I feel like we just need another big wave to come out. And I think over time we will see them, but I do think that we need a wave and not just some of these exclusives that we keep getting. All right, so kind of keeping it in the theme of the cards, I have Pokemon, and this one's a little bit of a hot take because there's a lot of Pokemon pops, but there's not a ton when you think about it at the same time, because there are quite a few different variants, whether it's flocked or metallic or whatever they're doing with the damn Pokemon pops. But more specifically, Gen 1, I think we need more of, because we're seeing a lot of different gens coming in and like only maybe getting like one Gen 1 Pokemon per wave now at this point. Bigger waves is another thing that I think that Pokemon needs. I mean, I believe the last wave that just got announced was only 3 pops, and that just doesn't make sense. I feel like with the Pokemon pops, you could easily have a wave of at least 8 different pops, and they're going to sell. I mean, the Pokemon pops sell very, very well. They're always flying off the shelves, not to the point where you just can't get them, but they just sell very great, and stores get them back in stock, because why not if they're going to sell well? I mean, Gengar is my number one, my favorite Pokemon, and we still don't have a Gengar somehow, which I don't understand. There's so many, I mean, there's 151 different Gen 1 Pokemon. You could have multiple waves before you even end up finishing Gen 1. So I don't know why they're throwing like Munchlax and stuff like that at us when people want Gen 1 stuff.
Yeah, I basically agree. Gen 1 before really anything, like maybe a couple of Gen 2, but like you're throwing in now, like, God, what is the newest gen they've done? At least they did a Gen 4 in one of the waves, I feel like. I don't remember which one it is. But I guess also like are the evolutions are Gen 2, right? Or are they like mixed?
The evolutions are mixed.
Okay. So there is some in like Gen 3 and maybe Gen 4. Besides, I know some are in Gen 2 also. And then obviously like
or like
Vaporeon and all
Sylveon,
that.
I believe, is like Gen 7, I think.
Okay, I didn't even know that. That's pretty crazy that they're just jumping to Gen 7 before even completing all 151 Gen 1 and even all however many Gen 2 there is. But yeah, Gen 1 needs to get done, especially getting like Blastoise, get Venusaur, even get Charmeleon, just to get that whole fire type completed. Like, what's going on there? I mean, I'm still waiting for one of my biggest Pokemon wishlist pops at this point would be like Machamp, because I think Machamp would look wicked in pop form. Especially making it like a 4-inch pop that's large enough to where it almost looks like a 6-inch pop, like they did with like basically you can say Mewtwo for Pokemon's sake, but then I'm comparing it to like Khonshu from Moon Knight. All right, the 5th set that I have listed down is Green Day. This one was a bit difficult. I mean, I want more Green Day pops. We have the 3 Green Day pops of Billy Joe Armstrong, Mike Dirnt, Trey Cool, and there was a little bit of mixed hype because they are basically the American Idiot style attires, but with a Dookie style box, which I didn't mind because the box style looked awesome. So now I feel like, though, if they were to make more of the singular ones, they would have to keep that box style, because imagine if they made the Dookie versions and then added American Idiot boxes. Like, that would be pretty weird to do. But at this point, when it comes to Green Day pops, I just want to see like albums and like deluxe moments. Like I have the Woodstock 94 deluxe moments Squarepants I always mention with their Dookie attires, and then there's the mud fight going on. And then you can even still do Dookie as a albums with the Dookie Monkey as the pop that's featured on that album. Their album previous before that, Kerplunk, I think deserves a album, but that one might not happen because it was one of their earlier albums. It was right before their fandom kind of like took off there. And I think they still could actually pull off a American Idiot albums regardless of them having to kind of repurpose the pops. I'm not going to say add a popified like fist with grenade heart with eyes on it as a pop, which would tick me off, but I would still buy it. But my idea would be either in a albums or deluxe albums, now as I think about it, is all of them slimed, because if you've watched the actual American Idiot music video, there is the part where the speakers kind of blow out green slime and they're all covered in that. So I think doing that would be pretty cool. Maybe it'll attract some Nickelodeon fans because of the recent like NFT drop with like all the slimed pops. So I think that'd be pretty decent. And then like I can't really think of like, you could do more current versions. There's like some of the more mascot styles. I don't really see them doing other band members besides the three main that you see, even like former members.
Yeah, I think that if we do get American Idiot, the best way to go about it for Funko would be to do a deluxe, because even if you just repurpose the 3 pops that we already got and throw them in a deluxe album for American Idiot, that makes sense. Dookie, obviously we want to see an album for that with the monkey. That makes a lot of sense. And even just other versions of the singular pops, I think, yeah, we waited a long time for Green Day pops, and I think that they definitely deserve more than just the 3 singular pops that we've gotten so far. All right, so the 5th set that I have is for SpongeBob. There's definitely quite a few SpongeBob himself, but we don't really have a lot of other side characters. I mean, with the original wave, we have SpongeBob himself, Patrick, Sandy, Mr. Krabs, and Squidward, I believe. But I feel like there's an open world of Bikini Bottom that definitely needs to be explored in Funko Pop form. And I would love to even see some of the different characters that I just mentioned with newer molds, because if you look at that original SpongeBob compared to some of the SpongeBobs that we've got recently, the SpongeBobs definitely look a lot better. And there are some cool versions of SpongeBob. You have the band SpongeBob, you have the Imagination, you have the weightlifter SpongeBob, and we even got Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man for New York Comic Con, which are some amazing pops. But I feel like there's a lot of characters that we definitely want to see. I want a standalone Plankton. I definitely want to see Pearl. The Flying Dutchman is a huge one that I want to see for the SpongeBob lineup. And I feel like they're just not really doing a whole lot with it, which doesn't really make sense because SpongeBob's still huge. There was a brand new game that just came out. I just don't see why they don't have more pops. Especially for some of these characters that, like Sandy, for example, like I would love to see a brand new mold of Sandy Cheeks, where there's definitely a lot of different things you can do. You can do the karate, you can do the like Texas bullworm, or even just a normal version of Sandy with a new sculpt. I think is something that we're definitely needing.
Yeah, I definitely think instead of getting a bunch of different SpongeBobs, some Patricks, barely any Squidwards. Then we haven't gotten a new Mr. Crab Pop yet. We only got the OG one, and same with Sandy. So a lot of revamps need to be made. And then, yeah, some new characters I think would be really cool for a SpongeBob set. Yeah, that's basically it. I guess we'll move on to the fan suggestions. First off, we'll name off the YouTube community page one, and we're going to see if we agree or disagree with this. So this is from Freezy. I think that's how it's pronounced, or it's Frezzy, but there's 2 E's, so it's probably Freezy. La Casa de Papel Wave 3 would be nice. And I don't really remember that all that much. I think that is the like TV show on Netflix where I remember the one pop was like a red jumpsuit and almost had a mask, kind of like V for Vendetta. I could be wrong. Otherwise, I don't remember anything about La Casa de Papel as terms to the show and the pops overall.
Oh, okay. So it's, yeah, okay. This makes sense. I had to do a quick Google for this, but La Casa de Papel is Money Heist here in North America. Great show. I haven't watched all of it, but I kind of would watch along because my mom was watching it, and amazing. And when the pops got announced, I was pretty pumped for that as well. And she definitely liked looking at those pops. Yeah, I definitely do think that it is a little bit underrated and does need some more pops, because there's quite a few characters in that show, and really we did not get a lot. I think there was maybe 4 pops, and it might not even be that many.
All right, so coming in from at PopFammatic, so no N, on Instagram, they wrote, Justice League the animated show, giving us only Martian Manhunter is absurd, LOL. Yeah, I think I actually did a little research on that today from that question. And yeah, it's weird how if you were to do one pop from Justice League, it would be Martian Manhunter instead of a Batman, a Superman, or even a Green Lantern for that matter, or Wonder Woman. But you do Martian Manhunter, a character that I feel doesn't really get talked about all that much, at least in my opinion. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, more pops are due for Justice League animated series.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like the reason why is because there's not a ton of Martian Manhunter pop, so doing a Justice League one is really cool. Whereas there are a ton of, for example, Batman pops. But yeah, definitely some Justice League animated series is well needed.
This one comes from, can you guess it? At Pops and Props YT on
I
Instagram,
knew it.
Pat
I
Carroll.
knew it.
He says horror movies. We need more pops for classic horror films like The Thing. Yeah, instead of just getting, let's make more Chucky pops and adding blacklight specification to them, or Pennywise is a huge one. Speaking of, once again, for the fifth time mentioning about pops that make too much of it. Yeah, I think even if there's like movies that they make a lot of one character, but they don't do another, it would be nice. Example, I've been saying this for years. Where is Laurie Strode from Halloween? Why hasn't she been made into a pop? And we've gotten an abundance of Michael Myers. With things like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, you can't really go down that route because I feel like people would only care about Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger, respectively. And then, yeah, I can't really think of classic horror films because I don't really know what's classified as a classic horror film, but like horror films that I enjoy and know that don't have Funko Pops, Insidious, and then Sinister is one that I really enjoy. And I think even like the villain, I guess you can say, in that movie would be really cool in pop form.
Yeah, I feel like there are definitely quite a few classic horror pops, but like there definitely needs to be more. With that being said, because there's not too many. Trying to think of some off the top of my head, I would like to see maybe some more of the Shining pops. I feel like there's room to do a few different pops, even if we see like a moments or even a deluxe moments for The Shining would be really cool. One which I technically classify as a Christmas slash horror classic is the Gremlins. I feel like there's not enough pops. There's a decent amount now, but there's still so many that they can do. Just a ton. I mean, I want to see more versions of the Mogwais rather than different versions of the Gremlins. Some people don't really classify Gremlins as a horror movie because it's not really that scary. What else? I mean, not classic, but the new Scream movie. I would love to see a really good wave of pops for the new Scream movie, considering how good of a movie I think it's probably going to be. We can get a couple different versions of Ghostface, as well as some of the actual characters I think would sell well as well.
Next one comes from at @Cameron_77_, which is yeah boy. He says the Batman, as in the 2022 film. Now, I still, after I think it's now been a year since this movie has come out, have not seen it yet. So I don't know exactly like if there's any characters in it that should have Funko Pops that they didn't, instead of making an abundance of Batmans, and you had a couple of Selena Kyles. I know they did a couple of the Penguin, and then there's the Riddler, and then they repurposed all those into a 5-pack. So I can't really answer this one because I have not seen the Batman realistically. But if there is newer characters that weren't really acknowledged in pop form, I guess yes. But at the moment, for what I've seen, no.
I'm gonna have to go with no as well. I also haven't seen the Batman, but I'm not surprised that yeah boy put this one in. I feel like there wasn't a crazy amount of the Batman pops, but I feel like we did get a good amount. So I definitely have to go with no on it.
This one comes from at Bastion Derek on Instagram. The Boys and also Golf and Tennis. So The Boys is a series I have not seen, but I believe MD has actually started recently watching in the last couple of months or so. Golf, I don't really care too much about golf. That's up MD's alley. And then tennis, I guess, okay, maybe because you got only like Venus Williams and maybe a couple other ones, but I don't know. I guess maybe for the sake of the fact, once again, that I have not seen The Boys and I don't really care about golf or tennis that much, I'm going to say no.
Okay, so The Boys, haven't watched all of it, but what I have seen, I definitely enjoyed. And I feel like The Boys was just a pop set that kind of sat around for a while on shelves. So I don't really think it needs more, but I don't know. I definitely think that there's probably different versions of characters that I would actually like to see be turned into Funko Pops. And then going on to tennis, I guess I'll start with. Yeah, I mean, we got what we got. There's definitely a few other tennis players that definitely deserve some pops, but for right now, I think we're good. And then with golf, I definitely have to agree with that. I do think that there should be more golf pops. Some names that I can think of is Phil Mickelson, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. There's a ton of really, really great golfers right now, as well as some of the older golfers like Bubba Watson, I think would be an awesome pop as well. That just came to the top of my head. So yeah, I definitely think that golf should get some more pops, and I would actually probably buy them. I have a few different golf pops right now, so if they came out with more, I definitely would buy them. So I have to agree with that.
And then the last one that was sent in by at jr.savelli, and it's actually a fandom that we did a podcast on, that being South Park. Yeah, I think South Park definitely deserves some more pops, as long as it's not another random episode set where it is Cartman, Kenny, Kyle, and Stan. We get newer characters like Timmy and Jimmy, other characters that I can't think of off the top of my head, but deserve to be in pop form, instead of getting, like, if you want to pull out some more Kennys and Cartmans, it's got to be these like older episode, really cool moments, instead of just the newer style episodes that no one really talks about. Kind of like a problem that The Simpsons is kind of currently having at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I almost put South Park on my list, so I'm glad that I didn't, because now I have kind of the chance to talk about it. Yeah, with South Park, like, we got the newest wave with the four boys, and then we also got the deluxe albums for that, which I think that deluxe album is completely unneeded. I mean, if you want to get that over the four singular pops, that's cool, but I just don't think it's needed for a cartoon to have its own album. I understand, obviously, South Park does put out a couple different albums, so maybe that makes sense. But yeah, I would definitely love to see more characters other than just the four boys. We need to see the parents. We need to see Jimbo. We need to see, I don't know, just a bunch of other characters. I mean, it's another show kind of like Family Guy, where there's this world of tons of characters that can be done and would be purchased. I feel like with the different versions of the boys, people might not want them because it's just a different variant that we've been seeing recently, rather than the OG ones where you have kind of just them normally. So I feel like with characters like the parents or any other random characters like Jimmy and Timmy, those ones would sell very, very well and not kind of stay on shelves like we're seeing with some of the newer waves of South Park pops.
All right, guys, so that is going to be the end of this edition of a Funko Popcast. If you enjoyed this specific edition talking about sets that deserve more pops, definitely hit that like button, comment, and subscribe for more content like this podcast and any other videos we do on this channel in the future. Hit the notification bell to be notified of when that future content gets released. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you guys next time. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
Peace in, peace out.